Well, it's his first flight, so I guess if he does more, then they can. He's not gonna be here.
It's not.
They said there's like a picture back there. Good morning. Oh, you are here. Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me? Yes, okay, awesome. I wanted to start out by letting everyone know that we are live streaming this and recording it. It will only be facing us, so you don't have to worry about if you don't want to be on camera or anything. We're not going to be spanning the audience or anything, but we know that we had tried to do live streaming for the first one. It didn't quite work out. We had so many technical issues, which is part of why we're doing these smaller meetings, and we want everyone to have access to the information, which is why we'll be recording this as well. My name is Audrey Leishman. My husband and I are part of this project for the golf course. I will start, and then Jonathan will do his piece on the development, and then we will open it up to questions afterwards. A little bit about me. I have lived in Virginia Beach since I was 4 years old. We moved here, my dad was Navy. My parents built an Indian River plantation in 2001, and my husband and I built in 2015. So this has been home for me since I was 17 years old. We really genuinely care about the community and would hope to help find a solution for the problem that has been there for the last 6 years. My husband and I we were part of a group that tried to buy the golf course or the land several years ago to make it an 18-hole golf course again. We spent 2 years in this effort, and we were told under no uncertain terms is the property owner going to sell this to become an 18-hole golf course again. He simply won't get the return on his investment that he would like without the development aspect of it. We had all but given up on the idea of pursuing golf and bringing it back to West Neck until a chance encounter with a former neighbor of mine. He told me that he knew the property owner, and he agreed to introduce us. After several months, we came to an agreement where Mark and I we will enter into a 50-year lease on the property, which is the front 9 of the golf course. It's a 50-year lease with 2 15-year extensions, so that's 80 years total. It is contingent on the development passing, on the rezoning. So one does not happen without the other. And I know that it is not the perfect solution. It is a compromise on the owner's part, and it really is the best that we will get from this property owner. So I'll just share a little bit about the project, and then again, at the end, after Jonathan speaks, we will open up to questions. A little bit about my husband. I don't know if many of you are golfers, but he has been a professional golfer since he was 18 years old. He was on the PGA Tour for 15 years and had 6 wins on that tour. And now he plays for Live Golf for the last 3 years, and he's had 1 tour there, as well as many international wins. I say this because I know that there's a great feeling of loss for not having a signature Arnold Palmer course anymore. I am not saying that my husband is Arnold Palmer, but within the golf world, he does have, his name carries some weight, and a lot of people are very excited at the opportunity to have him design a golf course for this area. That being said, we also know that he hasn't designed a golf course before, and while he knows a lot about golf, he hasn't done this specific thing. And so we wanted to find a partner who could really help make this the quality golf course that we both would like it to be. And that is where Ian Baker Finch enters. He is another Australian retired golf professional. He played for professional golf for over 30 years, won the British Open in 1991. He was also, he just retired last year, but he was a CBS golf commentator for many years. He designs golf courses. He's very excited to partner with us on this project, and with the 2 of them at the helm, we really believe this could be a very, very special project and golf course. Investors. Mark and I will be investing a significant amount of our own personal money. And I share that because there has been some question about our commitment and whether we will stick with this project. We, one, believe in it. It is our home. We want this to succeed, but I understand that you don't know us. And so I hope that you would believe that if we're willing to put our money into it and a significant amount of our money into it, we really do believe that this can be a successful project. We also haven't run a golf course before, so we have partnered with Mike Bennett, a Commonwealth Golf Asset Management Company. This is what he does. He restores golf courses, he does the work, the renovation, and he runs them. He was part of the original group that we partnered with to try and make it an 18-hole golf course again, and he's equally excited to partner with us to make this a 9-hole golf course. He currently does do a 9-hole golf course based in Asheville, North Carolina, and he has seen the growth and popularity of 9-hole courses and believes 100% that there is the demand for something like this in our area. We also additionally have some local businessmen, as well as some former professional athletes from the Hampton Roads area who do believe in this project and want to see it succeed. Again, going back to the former Arnold Palmer, I wanted to share a few things. There have been a lot of questions about whether this is going to bring in a lot more people to the neighborhood or a different kind of people. Our golf course will be a semi-private course. The Arnold Palmer signature was a semi-private course as well. Ours will not be any more open to the public than that was. We want it to be elite level conditions. We can't do 18 holes, but we want them to be the best 9 holes that you play in Virginia Beach. We want it to be as good as quality as Bayville, Cavalier, Princess Anne, but just on our neck of the woods. And we will also, there's been a lot of questions about the par 3 course component. That is a very small piece of it. I wish Mark was here so that he could speak more on the golf course piece. He's overseas right now playing golf. But the actual layout of the 9-hole course is not going to change very much. We will restore it, replace greens, fix pipes that need to be fixed, etc., move some bunkers. But in general, the 9 holes are going to stay very similar. His plan is to shorten the 9th hole and start the par 3 course there to then wrap around in front of where the clubhouse is, where there will also be a large practice putting green. So that is the general layout. We have kept things very high level because we don't know if this is going to pass. So if this does get passed, we will then really dig in to get all the details on golf course design, but until it is passed, it is mostly ideas, but ideas backed by professionals. The estimated construction timeline is 18 months. That is per Mike Bennett, who, again, this is his expertise, so I trust him. We will keep it Monday through Friday for construction hours. Another question that people have asked about is, all right, so benefits to you. We will offer a rate for West Neck residents as well as any River residents if you are golfers and want to play the course. We are hoping to bring back a clubhouse, and we have been in talks with the Royal Courtyard, who is the current tenant of it. Their lease is up in 2027. We have approached them to see if they would like to partner with us to bring back a restaurant again, to bring back a clubhouse for the community. We want you to have that again, a community area where you guys can go for a drink or a dinner or a lunch. And so there is that opportunity, or we will have the opportunity to take over the lease from him and operate it, find a different restaurant operator for that space. We are in these active conversations, but again, so much of this is contingent on whether this plan passes. So that is my portion of the presentation. I'll pass it along to Jonathan.
Thank you, Audrey. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jonathan Skinner. I'm the president of Harrison Weir Inc. Briefly, Harrison Weir Inc. is in its 76th year of operation, founded and based in Hampton by Army members returning from Korea in World War II, founded to meet the housing needs of Hampton Roads as it grew in the wake of Korean War and World War II. We have three main business functions. We are developers. We develop residential communities and mixed-use projects. We are property managers. We manage approximately 2,000 apartment units in Hampton Roads. And we also have an association management division, which manages 50 HOAs and about 5,000 units throughout Hampton Roads. As developers, we develop a wide variety of communities, including a community known as Smith Farm Estates in York County, which is currently the highest value new construction community on the peninsula, with homes currently selling from 1.3 to 2.6 million. Our general attitude and perspective towards development is creating value and building quality communities. For those of you that don't know, I got involved in this effort approximately 3.5 years ago. I got involved because I saw there was a problem and felt I could contribute a solution. My initial efforts were as a real estate agent to try and sell the property to a golf course owner-operator. I did not succeed in finding a buyer who would meet the expectations of the property owner. Subsequently, I entered into a contingent contract with the property owner, the contingency being that it gets successfully rezoned, at which time my company would purchase the property and develop it. As many of you know, we had a plan that was submitted last year, and we read the tide and saw that the tide was rising against us and withdrew that application in March of this year. And I, at that point, didn't expect any further steps to be taken because the property owner had told me, like Audrey and Mark, that golf was not an option. I'm very appreciative of Mark and Audrey's efforts to bring the property owner to the table for a compromise. I know, as Audrey and Mark do, that it's not an ideal compromise, but it is the best compromise that we've been able to achieve with the property owner. The revised plan, which clearly includes 9 holes of golf and a small par 3 facility and a practice facility called the former driving range, is complemented by 143 proposed housing units. Those housing units will all be age restricted, 55 and older. They will be primarily master down ranch plans. They will all be fee simple, single-family lots. And we plan to establish a separate HOA for the maintenance and the responsibilities of the development areas. As you look up here, you can see the location of the proposed development areas. Half of the former driving range, holes 12 and 13 have housing, holes 17 and 18 have housing, and then about 10 units in the vicinity of former hole 16. Holes 14 and 15 will be placed into a conservation easement, and we also have walking trails shown throughout holes 14 and 15. As we continue, the proposed rezoning is focused on these areas which we propose development in. The areas of holes 14, 15, and the areas where deletions will be, are planning to reopen a golf course will remain P1, which is preservation 1. But our proposal is focused on 42 acres here, 13 acres here, and 7 acres there. These two pieces are forested wetlands, and this rendering gives you a better illustration, removing all the other rendering and design, so you can see exactly where the housing is proposed. These are some renderings of example housing. Through my career, I've worked with a variety of builders in Hampton Roads. My preferred builder for this project will be Stephen Alexander Homes. If you're familiar with their construction and quality, they're one of the best builders in Virginia Beach and Hampton Roads. But again, those will be primarily master down ranch plans, but much of what we do is market driven, so our builder or builders will meet what the market wants and what the buyers who are interested in building and living in this area will request. So they're to predict exactly what the housing will look like and the composition of master downs and such. It's difficult at this point, but ultimately any builder seeks to meet the market and satisfy demand and have good sales. This illustration shows where the proposed walking trails will be, these red lines. You'll see up here that we have walking trails shown throughout 14 and 15. And in total, there will be approximately 4.2 miles of walking trails and multi-use path as part of our project. This illustration shows where wildflower meadows will be in the pinkish orange color, and in the dark green is reforestation areas. The light green is preservation areas, and then again, these are forested wetlands. This is a further illustration of the varying reforestation plans. We have 3 different types of reforestation proposed depending on location. Predominantly, this is what the reforestation will look like. And where we're proposing preservation, we will do a lot of thinning out, limbing up, and removal of trees, because right now the overgrown nature of it is such that there's not appropriate spacing for the trees and shrubs to flourish. As part of this, those areas will also receive maintenance. The maintenance will vary depending on the volume of reforestation in a certain area. This illustration shows the existing stormwater ponds. You'll see here that we will be expanding the pond in this area. We are also adding 2 ponds in this area. In total, we will be adding 3 acres of stormwater ponds. And overall, that combined with the reforestation will have a significant impact on the amount of stormwater entering the ponds. So where we currently stand is that on November 3rd, we submitted our rezoning application to the City of Virginia Beach. And the typical process is a 60-day staff review, at which time a staff report is produced. Going into the holiday season, it's our expectation that it may take longer than that. But following a staff report, it the next step is a planning commission hearing will be scheduled, and then subsequent to that, city council. It is likely that planning commission will be in February or March, and then city council will follow typically within a month of that. We can't precisely forecast it because part of the process with staff review is interaction between our engineers and city engineers. Specifically here, there will be a lot of interaction about traffic and stormwater. So our engineers are currently actively engaged with city stormwater engineers and city traffic engineers. So I can't say for sure what the stormwater design will be finally, but it should be close to what is shown. And further to that, in terms of traffic, we also will be working with the city on a traffic control plan. A question that I've heard frequently, let me get to an exhibit that shows it. Bear with me a second. So we are currently working with the city staff on a proposal to have a temporary construction easement through the city-owned property here, whereby construction traffic would come off of Indian River Road. Those conversations are in process. We cannot promise that at this point, but we fully appreciate that construction traffic is irritating, and will attempt to find that confirm that alternative route in the coming months. That is the broad point and broad outline of the proposal that we are now moving forward with. And with that, we'll open the floor to questions for either Audrey or myself. And just if you raise your hand, I'll be sure to see everybody, and we'll work our way around as we receive questions.
I have a question. Today on my phone popped up blue line, green line, and I don't know exactly where those are.
That is the boundaries upper.
So I know what they are, but I don't know where they are.
Indian River Road is the blue line.
The blue one.
Yes.
Okay.
So the city's focus, and it's subjective because you have varying politicians and views, but I think they want to protect everything below the blue line, is my
Yeah, well, it was
conclusion.
interesting because it's like you can't make that look pretty picture
Yeah.
big enough even with my magnifying glass. So I knew approximately where it was, but I'm thinking, okay, we've talked about the blue line, the green line, the transition zone. I'm a visual. Now I can tell.
Yeah, Indian River Road,
Thank you.
yes.
On this one picture, it shows that the reforestation of areas C and D, but it doesn't say anything about A. Can you
We
tell
have,
me? A is on 14.
and I should note that we will be publishing a website soon where all this information will be available, and the suggestion of a resident yesterday, we will also be publishing city comments and responses as soon as we get them. Bear with me a moment. We have, so this is A,
That's A, okay.
and this is B, and this is C.
Okay.
The reason I chose to bring this one out is because these are the areas adjacent to Carrollton and the Grove, which are the areas that have housing most immediately near them. In both cases with Carrollton and the Grove, that's, this is what the buffer area will be. We're proposing a 50-foot buffer against Carrollton and against the Grove. Practically, with building setbacks, it will be over 100 feet between building corners of the existing housing and the proposed housing. But this is the view that we will create, and whether it's through reforestation or through removing overgrown areas if the project's approved. Does that help?
Yeah, can I see the picture again of A? I assume it's about the same.
It's thicker. And let me go back.
That's what,
So area A is, now, these are the higher density areas of the dark green here, here, and here. And one part of the rezoning process is through this process, and I've done 25 of these in my professional career, is that plans do evolve and change based on municipal feedback, whether a city or county, and citizen feedback. Obviously, I have limits on what adjustments I can make and parameters, some to do with the property owner's willingness to accept adjustments, and some cost related, to be frank, but there is a possibility that some elements of this could be modified, but I think this is largely what we intend and expect to see presented to Planning Commission and City Council.
Who will be the property owner of A?
The plan, and we are accelerating our effort, is to place that in a conservation easement. The property owner will be JWK Leclerc. They would grant the easement to an entity like Nature Conservancy. I have a project in Williamsburg that is a 306-acre project with 180 acres of conservation easement. The Historic Virginia Land Conservancy is the grantee or the easement holder. And we have annual meetings and inspections to ensure both the grantor and the grantee are obligated with responsibilities for maintenance and upkeep. But that is something that we're actively pursuing to solidify. The scope of my proposed acquisition is So this area, and these areas are the areas which I currently have under contract, contingent upon rezoning.
Your walking paths that you designated there in the red lines, are they basically the existing cart path redone, or?
To a degree, large degree, yes. In many cases, residents, I've spoken to many residents that live along this road, and generally speaking, people don't like having paths immediately in their backyard, so we're going to pull those away in the cases where the car paths were really close to the rear lot lines. So you'll have a buffer and then the path. Mostly along here is where that situation occurs.
The green areas that you talked about, when presuming that everything is approved as you're submitting it, those green areas cannot be rezoned again? The owner is not going to come back in 5 years? You're going to deed those to someone else?
A conservation, you're talking about this area? So in land use, a conservation easement is more powerful than zoning. It is extremely rare for a conservation easement to change. Walcott Rivers and Gates, our land use attorneys, have established most of the conservation easements in areas in Virginia Beach and the south side. The largest conservation easement holder on the south side is the Nature Conservancy, but there are several other entities that accept conservation easements and maintain them. Another example is the Historic Virginia Land Conservancy, who I work with in Williamsburg.
What amenities will be offered to the new homeowners?
The walking trails and the golf, they'll have the ability to use the golf course, but there's no pool or clubhouse proposed for them. And there's no expectation from us that they would have access to the West Neck Community Pool or clubhouse. There was a suggestion yesterday, which I think is a very valid suggestion, that we meet with the WNCA board and talk about building into our fee structure for the dues of our community some contribution to the maintenance, because there will be an impact on the existing community. So I'm hopeful to meet with the WNCA board at some point in the near future to talk about how we can structure the HOA to accommodate for contributions from the new HOA to the existing HOA's finance for impacts that the proposed project will have.
A question for you said the Mark Leishman design course, basically you're using the same 9 holes, so he's going to be changing them up as far as traps and stuff like that. That will be the design part of it?
Yes. Yeah, probably changing the grass that was in there, definitely moving some bunkers, changing the greens a bit, but, in order to not have massive construction that will take a really, really long time, the footprint is good. He doesn't want to change the parts that are good, he just wants to improve what's there.
I've heard 232 houses and 143 houses. How many are proposed to be built?
143.
And how long will that take? In years?
Well, if I may, I'm going to walk you through the steps. Following a successful rezoning, we would then kick off an effort with our civil engineer to do construction drawings. Construction drawings are very detailed. They show manhole locations, stormwater design, things of that nature. That process usually takes, and this is a pretty large project, 4 to 6 months for civil engineers to prepare. Upon preparing and submitting to the city, we typically see 3 review cycles, which on average take 45 to 60 days. So we're looking at probably 10 to 12 months for getting approval. We cannot do any work on the property until you have the full approval and the issuance of a land disturbance permit. And a side note, as part of an approval, the developer has to post performance bonds so that if something went awry, the city can call those bonds and monetize them and complete the work or repair the work if the developer, if I didn't do the work properly. Haven't had that experience in my 25-year career, but following land disturbance issuance, which would again probably be roughly 12 months after rezoning, looking at probably 10 to 12 month site work development period, depending on seasonality. Best times of year to do site work are spring to fall. So then after that, then we subdivide the lots and we sell individual lots to builders. And that process would be 1 to 3 years, depending on market conditions. I've had communities where 150 homes have sold in a year. I've also was developing in 2007 and 8 where things weren't selling at all. So the 1 to 3 years is really reflective of, I don't know where the market will be in a year and a half or 2. I hope, as a developer, you hope to be opening up during a strong market with good interest rates, but that's an unpredictable part of the development process. But
How about construction? From the first shovel in the ground to the last house is sold.
that would be 2 to 4 years. 1 year roughly for site work, and 1 to 3 years for home
Talking
construction.
about construction itself.
1 to 3 years. Sir.
Like, most of the people in here are A, what you have A on the flat, right? 14 and 15, now there are T's, there are sand traps, there are pond in there. And you mentioned this walking path that goes around, and you have a buffer zone between the homes and the path. Give me more detail about what you envision that's going to look like in there. You had a picture that looked like a lot of trees, and high trees and so on. It looked like a forest back in there.
So it will be primarily wooded. There are some areas in the pink and orange that are wildflower meadows, and then the existing 3 ponds on that stretch, of course. But it will be primarily wooded, would be the answer.
And this path goes through the woods. Is that the idea?
It's both on the side and through.
And who can use these paths? I mean, is the public come in here and use these paths?
Yes, although I certainly don't think it will be encouraged or advertised in that way. I know that we won't encourage or advertise that, and due to parking limitations, aside from your community and courthouse estates, it would be less likely that people beyond West Neck or potentially courthouse estates would use them, but we will not secure them from people entering them.
So it's available for public use.
Yes. It sounds like
if you just said that, or they, no, and their husband, if they start the golf course immediately once it gets approved, it sounds to me like from what you said, that the golf course more than likely will be finished by the time you guys get the okay to start building your first.
Yes, it's highly likely that their project will be done 1 to 3 years, I would say, before ours is done.
You say the fountains may come back on?
Yes.
In the new works area,
What about it?
will the families come back on there?
Yes, the question was about fountains in the ponds. Yes, those will be part of the project.
When do you start this reforestation, or whatever it's called?
It will be following the receipt of the land disturbance project. Because as another gentleman mentioned, with the existing bunkers and things like that in those areas, we're going to have to do some grading work to prep those areas for
That will be after the homes are built or early on?
early on.
And, there are some homes, because there's so many weeds next to those ponds, you can't even see the pond. Will those weeds remain there?
No.
Can you repeat the question?
She asked if the weeds around the ponds will be left there. No, they will be removed in those areas we'll see maintenance.
The ponds that she was asking about, we were talking about current fountains, that kind, could you point to which ones they are? Because I don't golf, I don't know what the holes are. Okay. And do you have a picture of what the forestation will look like where it's dense? Or like a picture, like we have of the other?
One moment.
Number 7.
Thank you.
Oh, no, 7 was where the house was, page 7. 'Cause we don't have a copy.
But that's not the dense part, right? There's A.
Right there.
That's A. Oh.
Who's responsible for the infrastructure and the roads, and will they go in first, or?
So I, as a developer, am responsible for the infrastructure. Following the issuance of the land disturbance permit, the first steps are clearing and grading, and then we put in erosion control and stormwater measures. You don't start on road construction until stormwater and grading are to a certain level of completion.
So I live right now in one of the ponds in the back 9. It's not up, the upkeep is 0 right now. So are you saying that once this goes into effect, that you will be taking care of the upkeep between our property lines and the pond, or the next?
There will be upkeep. I need to advance the conversations regarding conservation easement. Usually the grantee, the grantor, and to a degree, I as a developer will have to work out the maintenance plan and decide who's responsible for which element. But the conservation easement holder would likely be focused on other elements because they generally deal with making sure wooded areas are preserved appropriately. So that's likely that would be a developer responsibility, but I'm hearing throughout our meetings that I need to advance and solidify those plans. So, and another component of also is working with city stormwater and determining what the exact scope of work will be. But there will be maintenance of those areas.
Will all the old pine trees that are there now be removed?
There will be a lot of thinning out and removal. We work with WPL, a very reputable landscape architecture firm who did most of the Virginia aquarium work. The plan is to have native species, and pines don't really fit that.
One, I'm not a golfer, but I'm really good at the 19th hole. So this doesn't, but my concern is by all this development, you're pushing all this traffic onto Legendary and Cadence. And it looks like for quality of life for 3+ years, all of us that use those roads are going to be impacted. Not the people in Indian River Plantation and not the people in Norfolk Park. We've also seen that since they improved the West Neck Drive, more people actually living in Courthouse Estates have been using that as a cut through because it's much easier now than going up North Landing. I'm highly concerned about 3+ years of quality of life when I moved to this community for a better quality of life. To have 3 years of construction and all that additional traffic to benefit all these people, but it seems like only some of us are going to have that impact.
Your concern is valid. We are working on a solution for construction traffic, but frankly, there will be a traffic impact. The city, in its review of our previous application, which had 157 units, and this is based on state and federal regulation for traffic counts and traffic flow, but they determined that the roads as they exist were sufficient for the growth we proposed. Now, that being said, as an age-restricted community, the traffic flow is throughout the day, whereas Courthouse Estates is more peak hours in the morning and early evening. One thing that the city did determine on our previous proposal is that the traffic counts, regardless of our project being approved, have now met the level to where a signal is needed at the intersection of West Neck and Signature Drive. So whether the project is approved or not, there will eventually be a traffic signal there. As part of our commitment, we would build the traffic signal. If we're not approved, ultimately, then that will become a Virginia Beach capital improvement item, which would likely take many years to get it into their capital improvement budget and approved. But I hope that answered your question, but I acknowledge your concern, and it's a reality of the work I do. And I understand that it can be bothersome.
Let's go to Area A. That's a reforestation, correct? And you have a picture of it there? Whatever that is. There you go, back up. Okay. So that's on holes, what is that, 14 and 15?
Yeah.
None of those pine trees exist on 14 and 15 right now. So are they going to be planted there? Because that's a very mature looking area. Those trees aren't planted.
There will be a lot of plantings, and it will be a mixture of native species that are planted. That is something that a detailed landscaping plan would be started following rezoning approval, but the best assurance I can give you is that we're working with the best landscape architecture firm in the area.
And who's going to pay for that?
That would be on North Diamond.
Okay, and once that's built, who's going to be responsible for that area?
That will primarily be the conservation easement holder, but there will be shared responsibilities for that.
With whom?
Not any West Neck responsibility, but some to the grantor, the property owner, and some to the new HOA. The new HOA will be responsible for maintaining the walking trails.
I just think that some of us have a lot of concern of these areas that are going to be walking trails and whatnot, but we're going to see all these weeds come back.
No, we will, my company manages 50 HOAs. We're accustomed to setting up budgets and reserves that are appropriate. We work with US Lawns, who currently does the landscaping maintenance out there. They'll be one of the bidders. We work with James River Ground Management, Brightview, a variety of others.
Who's going to pay for that?
That will be for the walking trails.
For all that area that's been reforested.
The reforestation will primarily be the conservation easement holder, somebody like Nature Conservancy. The walking trails will be the new HOA.
Which
The
HOA?
new HOA. That's
The new HOA that we will establish for the 143 units.
Okay.
Did I understand earlier that you said there was going to be some talk about joining the HOAs?
No, I didn't mean it to sound like that. A suggestion was made yesterday that due to the impacts of the new community, it made sense that the new HOA would contribute funding to the existing HOA for its impacts on the existing infrastructure. So I would welcome the opportunity to meet with the West Neck Community Board and have that conversation and try to reach an agreement on what they're doing.
They're still going to be separate HOAs?
Yes.
It could be social.
That is up to the West Neck Community Board.
That would be.
Yeah, I have, several of the board members have attended these meetings, to my knowledge. I don't know them all. I don't know exactly how many, but I'm hopeful of sitting down with them and talking about that. But nowhere in our thought is that an expectation that they would be able to be any kind of members with the existing community association.
So basically, the area that you have on the screen right now, my background is a science teacher, that's going to go back into being nature at its best.
Yes, with some maintenance
But you're,
on undergrowth.
yeah, but you're not
limbing
going to be,
and
you're
things
not
like
going to
that.
be able to have lawnmowers or tractors going through
No,
there.
it'd be primarily pine straw on the ground.
Right, so, and that's what it's, basically is gonna sort of look like what it looks like now behind my house, because I do have the loblolly pines, and the green is covered with, with pine needles. I just want people to understand that when you're talking about maintenance, they're gonna come through, and if there's a tree that's dying or there's a dead tree, yeah, they'll take it down, but they're not gonna go through there and weed whack that whole, all those grounds back there. It's going to be nature at its best, and
With one addition to that is that we're gonna thin it out and put some native species in.
Right.
Get a wider breadth of trees and shrubs.
I understand, having dealt with developers and worked in developments, that everything that you've put up there at this point is conceptual drawings
Correct.
and /dreams/hopes.
Flash vision.
So it's just that understanding that that ain't what it's going to look like. And my experience has been, it's always lesser. Just like my own dreams in my life are lesser than what I used to dream. So that's a comment. A question is, with the golf course management, what kind of contract are you thinking about, given if this thing's not profitable, they're going to be the first ones to bail. And then what happens, other than, well, we'll go looking for somebody else?
This is a question that has been asked repeatedly, so I was prepared for it. We have the ability to assign our lease to someone else, including an HOA. That being said, I am working with the property owner to try to find some legal guarantee that he will never attempt to develop it again. This is not, and I know that's why I'm asking for a legal guarantee for you, because I know that there is no trust there. I understand that.
And
So
if
I
you
am
don't
working.
find one?
This was a question that was presented yesterday throughout the meetings, and so I immediately asked him about, well, actually I asked him on Monday after a different conversation. So we are working on it. He does talk to his lawyer regularly, and so I assume that he will have an answer soon. I will be on top of him and continue asking this question. I know that we all want that guarantee. That being said, we are not rezoning this property. The front 9 will not be rezoned. So if he ever did want to try to develop this again, he would have to go through this process again. One thing that I want to say again is that he's looking for a return on his investment, which he will get if this is approved. He will get this through the development side. And that is truly his goal, is to have that return on his investment. He wants this, and once this golf course is good, he doesn't want to go through this process again. But again, I understand the trust is not there, which is why I'm asking him to look for a legal guarantee for you. Yes.
The clubhouse, will you and your company have complete control of the clubhouse?
So right now, the property owner will maintain ownership of the clubhouse. Right now, the Royal Courtyard is the tenant. Their lease is through 2027. We are in conversations with them about a possible partnership. We have also presented the option to buy them out. So that is all, these are conversations that we're having right now. If it is no longer Royal Courtyard, we will find another restaurant group to partner with to run the venue.
Is Mike Bennett going to run the operation, the golf operation?
Yes.
Back middle, thank you for your patience.
I got 3 questions. First of all, on the Nature Conservatory, you said that maintenance will be between the grantor and the grantee.
That's a typical structure, yes.
Yeah, my scary part to me is the grantor hadn't maintained anything since he's had it for 6 years. And I look at what you have for Area A there, and those trees which are not there, and I realize today that I'm 78 years old, those trees will not be there in my lifetime. And you're counting on those trees to pick up water and this type of thing, so I think that's kind of a misnomer. Secondly is, have you thought about, to her point, about all the traffic coming in through the main gate, because you do not have access, and from my understanding, you don't sound enthused about that. Have you looked at the other thing, like I mentioned yesterday, about going through River Plantation, Indian River Plantation, let them bear some of this, since they're the beneficiaries of all this kind of thing that you want in your neighborhood. And then thirdly, I would ask you, on your wetlands, you designated the change from CDH1 to PDH2. And what exactly is PDH2?
And what is PDH1?
So I think the first was more of a comment, but I accept the comment that renderings from landscape architects, whether municipal or private, show mature growth, and it will take years for what is planted to grow.
And that's if he goes ahead and maintains it, which he hasn't in the past, but, you know, we'll all...
Well, okay, to that, having dealt with land conservancies before, there's very great detail in conservation easements that are negotiated between the grantor and the grantee. And using Nature Conservancy as an example, these groups are not tremendously well funded, so they are going to make demands of the grantor, and the grantor will be contractually obligated to some degree to financially commit. That is what we're working on now.
Who guarantees that? You guarantee that?
The conservation easement legal document is where the parameters of maintenance are defined.
Does anybody get to review that?
Well, it's not something that cities or counties are involved in reviewing. It's typically between the grantor and the grantee, but I'm open to sharing that once we get some document created. So remind me of the second question, I'm sorry.
Access to Indian River Plantation.
So you made that suggestion yesterday. I haven't pursued those conversations, but it's a good suggestion, and I will explore it with our traffic engineers. I haven't had a chance to talk to them about it yet, but I'm going to pursue that because I think it's a good suggestion. And then the third?
The wetlands going from PDH1 to PDH2. What is PDH2?
So both PDH1 and PDH2 indicate planned developed housing. You will note, let me get to the exhibit. You will note that those areas are already zoned PDH1. And PDH1 is the main difference. There are subtle differences between the two, but PDH1 has more commercial allowances than PDH2. The reason we include it is it adds to the open space in our calculations. It's mathematics.
But basically, either one, you can put anything you want. You can put a
No.
7-Eleven, you can put a washer.
No, well, two-part answer.
You read that.
Two-part answer. It's not shown on our plan, so it would have to go through another process. And then the second part is that you will see that these parcels are landlocked. We're not stubbing roads out to them. Typically, if a developer has intention to build on land or city or county wants construction or is open to construction, you'll have a road stubbing out. But there are cul-de-sacs in Wordsworth here, so that is effectively landlocked. And this parcel, you have Wordsworth, Gulf, and no connectivity. So if A, they're landlocked, but B, and most significantly, I or any other future or other developer would have to go through the same process again. But mostly because they're landlocked, it's highly unlikely.
Would they really be landlocked if you came through the back of Wordsworth behind buildings 100 through 400? You would already have the potential to have that.
Now, we're going to get a temporary construction easement to keep working temporary. We hope to, I should say.
But if you
And please don't characterize it that way. Our proposal to the city is to go through the middle of that parcel, not adjacent to Wordsworth. It's a 25-acre parcel.
It is adjacent to Wordsworth in the fact that Wordsworth would not be able to get out of their neighborhood. It is there, if I'm in error, you go ahead and point it out, but where this is coming through, after that, you would have a road. You would have a way to get.
We would not have a road. It would be stone.
Why go for rezoning of an area that you don't intend to do that with then?
I answered that question previously because it helps with our open space calculations.
The other question is, can you go over the lot, the acreage, how close the houses will be, how close they'd be to other homes that are existing?
We have a 50-foot buffer between the rear lot line and the existing lot lines.
And between the houses?
There are 5-foot side setbacks between the houses, so there'll be 10 feet of separation between the houses.
10 feet.
Yes.
And then
In many age-restricted communities, and I cited Colonial Heritage in Williamsburg as an example yesterday, that is where the industry, where the market has gone. Most age-restricted buyers are looking for limited lawn maintenance, so that's a portion of that consideration in design.
And then my final question is where E is, that is going to still be owned by Mr. Leclerc, is that correct?
So, I believe the parking lot is part of your lease to accommodate for the golf operation. And then there's, where the E is located is currently parking lot. And the property owner is proposing a building on this parcel where he's proposing to have a golf simulator operation.
So that increases the potential for more public traffic into the neighborhood.
Yeah, most golf simulator operations I've been to, and the size of the building he's proposing, maybe 10 to 15 days. So I can't project exactly how much traffic that would be.
And that doesn't need rezoning to do that tomorrow, correct? Like, it's zoned correctly for that.
Yes, but he would, there was a time in which I've seen a plan Dick Foster had proposed with what are called live-work units, retail on the first floor, apartments above. I'm not sure why. I think the timing didn't work out for a number of reasons. But you wouldn't need a zoning change to build a small commercial building in that area. But due to it's a 2.7 acre parcel, so there's finished floor area ratios that are calculated to determine limits of the size of the building on the parcel that size.
And thank you very much for getting the live stream. Appreciate it.
In the back?
So I bought a house here a year ago because it's quiet and it's peaceful, and I really love it. And my backyard faces caves. So I came from rural Connecticut where I've had to get used to people saying good morning, walking by with their dogs, and I do from my bedroom window hear traffic at night. So your 7 o'clock start time of construction really is going to be bad for lots of us. And you noted 2 to 4 years to complete the project. That's 2 to 4 years for when you sell each lot. So you have all of these lots, the economy is bad, you're charging lots of money, they're big houses, they're smashed together 10 feet apart, and you are going to have construction off of cadence probably 2 to 3 years for every house you sell, which could mean that we could all live with 6, 7 years because all the houses are going to sell at once. You know that. Then we look at why you're using our roads. Why off of cadence does there need to be a road going in here, which increases the traffic, also increases the noise, now we're gonna have a traffic light, you're really ruining our community. So besides all of that, I was much more prepared to not deal with 6 years of construction and sell my house and look for another place that's quiet. Because I think you're really destroying the edges of West Neck and a lot of what people live here. And I don't think the golf course is gonna work out. There's no guarantees. These people already know it, and there's lots of history here.
Did you have a question?
Not at all, because I think it's all speculation and not in reality.
You said part three, the whole was talking about, you say part three.
That is still to be determined. It's going to depend on space, but a typical par 3 course is 9 holes, but we may not have enough room for 9 holes. Part of why Mark wants to include a par 3 is for the length of time that a golf round can take. So part of why 9-hole courses are becoming more popular, and if you don't believe me, Golf Weekly actually just posted an article a couple of weeks ago about the popularity and the trending of par 3 courses. Part of that is because a typical round of golf is going to take 4.5 to 5 hours. On a very busy day with slow players, with kids on the course, it might take 6. So a 9-hole course is much faster. It is more family friendly for not just the children, but for working parents who might not want to spend 6 hours away from their kid. And I'm not just talking about playing time. You go there, you warm up, you hit balls, you cool down, you go to the 19th hole and have a beer. It's a long time away from your family, and this part of why he wants the par 3 courses so that people, kids particularly, have a place to try and learn and develop their game that isn't necessarily on the golf course that is holding up the traffic of the different players and their tee times.
That's the only place I could see one. My question is, what holes that are currently there are you planning on putting the par 3s on?
So Mark is looking at shortening the 9th hole and using that and then going through in front of the clubhouse. So it would be kind of a loop, and it would be that as well as the practice putting green.
I'd like to answer your question. I mean, from what I listened to playing golf, this so-called 9-hole par 3 is really just a chip. Gary Pollard, Kate Taylor, 9-iron, 8-iron, 8-iron, that kind of thing.
Speak up, you can't hear you in the back.
The 9-hole course will be a full 9-hole course. The layout of the golf course is not going to change much. Yes. We cannot do an 18-hole course because
Can't hear the question.
she's talking about an 18-hole executive course. I'm unfamiliar with what an 18-hole executive course is. Nothing but par 3s. No, we do. So from having conversations with Mike Bennett, who does golf course management, and the trend within the golf market is that par 3 courses or 9-hole golf courses are increasing in popularity, and that is why we are working on that. Correct.
On the 9-hole golf course, do we plan on having alternate tee boxes so a person can play around the 9-20?
So that is something that we discussed at that, high level, but right now, our time and energy is in community engagement and doing these meetings and trying to find out the questions so we can get the answers and less on that. Sorry, he was asking
Alternate tee boxes.
if you had considered doing alternate tee boxes so that a person could play at 18 holes. All I can say is that Mike is very excited and he is brimming with ideas. We just haven't been able to sit down. That being said, because this question has been asked about, or a lot of details have now been asked about the golf course, I will set up a meeting in the new year. I personally am going to Australia for Christmas and will be gone a month, so it will have to wait until the new year. And then we can look again, once we have some of these questions answered, to do another community meeting.
Sir?
I've tried to do some research, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the only count I can come up with is there's 4 9-hole golf courses in the state of Virginia. So I'm not sure about your popularity, and I'd love for you to prove me wrong, but that's the only data I can come up with is there's 4 9-hole courses in the state.
I think the closest example is in Kingsmill. The best example I'm familiar with is in actually northeast Florida outside of Jacksonville.
It's not Virginia.
But golfers' preferences are not isolated to state by state. The point being that in TPC Sawgrass in Ponte Vedra Beach, they converted an 18-hole course to 9-hole, and a similar idea to what the Leishmans are proposing. It's called the Yards, and it's been very successful. And to Audrey's earlier points, Golf Weekly, other resources, the industry is evolving. Topgolf didn't exist 15, 20 years ago. It's become incredibly popular. There's evolution in the golf industry, and 9 holes are becoming more popular for a variety of reasons. But it's the risk they're taking financially.
It's a risk we're taking because we live here.
It's a risk you share, but they are taking the largest risk because it is not a small budget.
The alternative is looking at weeds, right? The alternative.
I guess what I'd like to say to people, the noise, we have jets go over them, and you can't even talk to each other, but that's okay. I come from an Air Force background, it's fine. I live on Hemingway, and you're talking about people speeding. I can't even walk out to my mailbox, because I live on the corner, and people off Einstein come flying around, and I take my life to get my own mail. So I'm not worried about Cadence or any of those, because, and I know that a lot of people cut through, coming out of Einstein onto Cadence. I know the people that are coming out to my right are coming off of Indian River, cutting through. So, I mean, we have an ability, we do have a great house, you know, we could have been a gated community, and that would have eliminated that. My brother lives in a gated community in Las Cruces. You know, he just goes and shows his little pass and he's in and out, and it saves all that doing. I don't want to live like that, but, you know, I think that my mother just passed away. She was over 100. She lived with me for 10 years. We've been here 10 years. She said, you know, Arlene, I'm kind of getting used to those weeds. I'm not. I mean, I like to look at the way things should be. And personally, if this is the bargain we have to do to get rid of the weeds, then I say, go for it.
A couple of comments. In cases where speeding is an issue, most jurisdictions, if they hear enough voices, will do speed bumps. Yeah, that is, in the roads, the road width is in such, other traffic calming measures include medians, but there's not adequate width for that. Regarding gates, usually gates are in front of private roads that are the responsibility of the community that sits behind the gate. In Virginia, it's a bit unusual. The VDOT oversees roads in counties, and cities are responsible for roads in cities. I don't know Virginia Beach to a complete degree, but I know that in all counties of Virginia, VDOT will not accept a gate unless the roads behind the gate are privately maintained.
Just safety. I mean, you know, you're 55 plus. We have a lot of ambulances that come down. They came to my house quite a bit. We don't need them to try and get a gate and get there in a hurry. I don't agree with that, but I'm just saying that, you know, we have an option. We can either look at the weeds and the crap and the yucky stuff that comes out of, you know, a lot of people have said they have snakes that we've never had before. We have all kinds, I had a whole bunch of ducks come to my yard because they thought that was a good place to go. And I'm not even near a pond. But I don't want to live like that. That's not why I bought this place.
Thank you
I
for
don't
your
care about
comments.
the names.
Not like that. I just, you know, I've been sitting here listening, I go to all the Barbara Henley meetings, I went to the meeting last night, and I think, I like what they're saying. Me personally, I like what they're saying, I hope you succeed. I know I'm gonna take a lot of flack, I don't really care, because they'll call me the Teflon Don for nothing, so I don't give a damn. I like it, that's how I feel.
Thank you for your comment. Sir, in the back row.
I do not share that opinion. My question is, there's going to be another HOA. For an HOA, there are documents required, declarations, covenants, restrictions. When will we be able to see those and examine them, since we will have a vested interest as the community that will be surrounding this new...
Ideally, I'd like to meet with the West Neck Community Board and advance the conversation I described earlier about whether part of our dues structure would include contributions to the West Neck community budget.
Dues is a number. Dues is a number.
That being said,
Change that.
That being said, typically covenants are not created until after rezoning. But that being said, the law firm we're working with, Walcott's Rivers and Gates, has done numerous covenants and restrictions, and I will work to create a draft and share it with the group. I'm not going to give you a timeline because I haven't started that effort, but I will assure you that prior to a planning commission hearing or a city council hearing, draft covenants will be distributed for comment.
I'm writing that down. I'm going to hold
It's also being live streamed and recorded, so now we have 3 sources of backup. Well, thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. I know Audrey does too.
I'm going home and pull out all my comforts.
Pull out all your what? No, you don't let them off.
Read, I can't remember what I wrote.